Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be back with another Young Indian, part of the Voice of the Young series. Right now, we have with us Shambhuraje Khardekar. Let's listen to him. Over to you, Shambhuraje.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Myself Shambhuraje. I'm currently pursuing an BA Economics Honors program from Christ University. So I was really glad that I could speak on this platform. And today, the topic that I want to speak is about something I have been researching a lot lately. I'm researching on this topic and wanting to know more about it. So it is, I'll share my screen. Um, I have a presentation on it. Uh, okay. So it is basically on education, social capital, and India's progress.
Okay.
I was very intrigued as I started to study economics. I was like in a very basic knowledge I had, and then went on reading, and then I found out there are different forms of capital. And along with that, in my college, I had some activities known as like service learning, through which I have to impart the knowledge that I have studied in my course, and I have to apply it to a grassroots level and provide a service to the society. So in that, we undertook a project where we went to several childcare centers, and we were trying to teach them. First, we did a need assessment. So in that need assessment, what we found out was that the children from these childcare centers were studying in government schools, and they were really lacking some basic math knowledge or basic language knowledge. And then there were children ranging from all the way from class first to class eighth is what the age group we had. Then I noticed that then I slowly started relating my course back, like economics, and how would India's economy, like when these children, when they enter into a labor force, how would this impact India's economy? And I was very much intrigued by this whole idea. Then I started digging deeper into this concept. So then after that, I this is what I have learned up till now, and these are my views on that topic. So first we'll um, go through India's social landscape, social and education landscape. So first we'll understand what is social capital. So social capital is a network of relationships and shared values, trust and mutual support that exists within a society. It influences from everything and anything, from how we communicate or we cooperate, or even when how governments function. So it is a very broad term. So unlike financial capital, social capital isn't something you own individually. It is the like it exists in our interactions, our institutions, and our communities. So India's this in this we'll like look into how India's social capital and educational landscape is related, and how we can look forward. So in types of social capital, we can see that there are mainly three types of social capital: bonding, bridging, and linking. So in bonding, we can say that there are connections within similar groups, example caste, religion, or family. Then there's bridging. There's connections across different diverse groups, example like different castes, classes and regions. And there comes linking. Linking is where education mainly plays role. So linking is where connections with institution and formal structures, example government bodies, market, schools. So we can, like, for example, I'll take a personal example of mine. When I was in school, we had children like from very different diverse backgrounds. So I had friends, and some of my friends are now national level shooters. Some of my friends are into sports. Some of my friends are into like engineering. And now when I look into like many of my friends are into top colleges, like they have gotten admissions. And all of these now like contribute to my social connections. All of these are my connections. And for example, if I tomorrow I want to get a really good access to a really good research paper, I just would contact my friend who is in studying in NUS, and he would get me through he has access to many repositories, so he could get fetch me a research paper from there. And this is because I went to a school which had very diverse students. So after that, we can see that education is a catalyst for social capital. So education fosters interaction, it teaches us civic values, and it builds trust in institutions and empowers individuals. So basically, we can see that these structures such as schools, colleges, they facilitate this interaction and understanding various social divides. And actually, when students are exposed at such an social network in a very early age, we haven't developed the image of the society as we perceive as adults. So the social divides, they break down, and the traditional barriers, or they all amalgamate under one social structure. So basically, school or colleges, they foster interaction, and the schools often teach us like civic responsibility, empathy, and importance of collaboration. So this strengthens overall social capital. So if we have to take a look into India's like education sector, so we can say that India has a massive student population. It is home to over 250 million students, and making its education system largest globally. And then like India's Right to Education Act, which was from 2009, it has guaranteed free and compulsory education for children aged to 6 to 14, which has significantly expanded the access. Also, so one of the problems, according to me, that India faces, still it faces, that even though our literacy rate is growing, but our enrollment ratio into higher education is not growing by that ratio. So like it was barely 10% in 2000, it has grown 28% in 2023, but it has not yet reached to the level of the developed economies that we are trying to compete with. So also that then after post lockdown, we can see that there's a digital learning boom. We have got access to various edtech platforms, various edtech startups are launching, as well as we can see that there's an improving scenario in India, where there is a significant increase in participation from marginalized group, as well as government initiatives like Beti Bachao has including girls into the education. So education, four pillars for social capital. So basically, this is what I have understood. So basically, educated individuals are more inclined to participate in the democratic process, from voting to engaging local government bodies like Gram Sabhas. We have seen in case studies that higher female literacy has directly correlated with higher performance in village panchayats. So women can actively participate in their rights, as well as social cohesion. As I earlier mentioned, schools are like melting pots. They bring students from diverse backgrounds, caste, religions, and early exposure in these settings effectively reduces prejudices, and they build a crucial cross-group trust and understanding. Also, education is very essential because it gives a chance for upward mobility in the society. By upward mobility, I mean that first generation learners often become catalysts for change, reshaping the aspirations of their families and communities. Like for about this, if I have to talk, I can take a very personal example. I'm from Maharashtra, and recently a boy from Maharashtrian village, like he is a son of a shepherd, and he cracked the UPSC examinations. And looking at him, many of the students in those villages who were earlier not interested and who did not even knew what was UPSC or what is IS, now are interested, and now are taking look into like what exactly has he done. So when someone from a community, or especially the first generation learners, when they do significantly well in their like life, and when they get a social upward mobility, they inspire many of the people around them to get education, and they in general it creates like a ripple effect in the society. So also education, like university and college campuses, they create youth networks, and this like this enhances the innovation. So in the case of India, we can see this like like colleges such as IIT, IIMs, They are building youth networks, and they are the basically think tanks. They are becoming slowly the think tanks where new ideas are generating. So educate. We can see that in India's case, Navodaya Vidyalayas are like these are government schools which are rural residential schools which are strategically mix students from diverse social economic backgrounds, and we can see that Navodaya Vidyalayas have a very strong alumni network in India, and they be like people from this background especially, we can see that they have a significant civic involvement in the society, as well as Teach for India, and then as I mentioned earlier, IIT alumni networks and tech platforms. These all are basically promoting India's taking India's educational landscape to a next level. So so now if we see India's education and global social capital, so India is, because of India, we can see that the global social capital is rising. So India is known for exporting its highly skilled workforce, and we can see that Indian doctors, engineers, IT professionals, and teachers contribute significantly to the societies globally. Then we have various initiatives like India shares its educational model and expertise with other developing nations, particularly in Africa and Asia, fostering the mutual growth, and as well as vast Indian diaspora connected through alumni associations and professional networks contribute substantially to development, research, and mentorship initiatives back home, strengthening their traditional ties. So, other than that, what I actually like when I was looking into this, I also found out that um there are many challenges that remain. Like a report like ASER show that many students, even in grade 5, can't read simple text or solve basic math problem. This was one of the problems that I saw. Like I have personally experienced when I went on the field. Also, like there's a while we talk about digitalization and tech platforms, there's a significant digital divide in India that gives unequal access to internet, and that this actually widens the rural urban gender gaps or rural urban gaps in general in educational opportunities and digital literacy. So, other than that, we can see various issues in India, like various communities still face discrimination. There are high dropout rates within specific genders, like girls especially have high dropout rates from education, and there is excessive competition. Like that, a massive barrier to education is like the coaching culture, which prioritizes rote learning and exam results. We can see that this comes at an expense of creative thinking, emotional intelligence, and civic development. But uh, at the same time, to enhance this social capital and education scenario of India overall, we can see that government is coming up with new new projects and new policies, such as now it has integrated value education, group project, community service, as well as self-governance, student self-governance to foster democratic values, as well as there are many so in the aspect of social capital, government is doing promoting many SHGs, parent teacher associations, and youth clubs to build trust at a grassroots level, as well as like various digital social capital tools. So, in building social capital, what is something interesting that we can observe in India is that India is very active through WhatsApp groups, and India's people, like the citizens of India, are very much increasing their social capital through WhatsApp group. So many of when I talk to my family members, many of my uncles, my aunts, even my father, is in many WhatsApp groups, and where he has all his friends, and maybe his friend added him into some WhatsApp group, and then this kind of creates a build in social capital. But if we really have to look like how to increase and foster this social capital or strengthen the social capital of India through curriculum design, is that we what we can really see in NEP 2020, the new education policy, It has included group projects, community service, student governance, as well as value education. And as well as we can see that due to NEP, so it is very like NEP has been highly beneficial in this aspect, because of NEP I got an opportunity as such to I got introduced to something known as service learning. And if I was never introduced to something like this, I would have never went into the grassroots, and I would have never looked at the condition which is really at the grassroots. Like in college, many of my friends too, we sit in classrooms, we sit in nice classrooms, faculty comes, teaches us, textbooks are there, we read about poverty, read about illiteracy, read about how um, how like an uneducated population can affect labor force. But then because of new education policy, I really got to experience all of this on ground, like on the grassroots level, as well as like many so government is also using like digital tools for new age social capitals. So government has introduced Digital India, My Government apps to increase the civic infrastructure. So we can, if we design these tech tools, we can connect teachers across states, and we can connect youth with governance projects. So other than that, so some strategies that government has used is Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So actually, what I think that Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was not only about cleanliness drive. It was about like claiming that space which is outside, like claiming the public spaces as our own, and like making a need that creating a sense that these all these public spaces are ours, and we really need to stand up and maintain cleanliness there. So it kind of fostered like a sense of nationalism, a civic pride and unity. This has also, like in my opinion, strengthened the social capital in India. As I mentioned, NEP 2020, as well as NCC and clubs, NSS has channels for like teamwork, leadership, and social responsibility. Other than that, there are so like key takeaways from nurturing social capital, like how we can do that is we can promote inclusion, we can connect communities and empower citizens. So social capital is not like automatic, like government, like financial capital, government may introduce some monetary policy or some fiscal policy, and then economy will, we can say that economy will do a better, like economy will perform better in the future, or economy, this sector can do better, we can forecast the growth. But social capital is something that needs to be built over time. It takes generations to build social capitals. So now the well established families that we can see holding power in the society, they, if we look into their history, they have built up their like they have built their networks, they have built their connections with other families over time. These are not like something that we can build over like in maybe 6 months, 3 months, 1 year. These take time. And for this, there need to be various initiatives, and there should be a structured plan to include to for increasing inclusivity. So like vision for the future, I might say that if India really wants to grow, and if India really wants to educate its masses, we need, so this is a bi-directional relationship, I feel like if we promote education, the social capital will strengthen, and when the social capital will strengthen, always the next generation will go to a higher level than what the previous generation was. So we need education creating collaborations, not just competitions, citizens, not just workers, innovators, not just consumers. We see that India is a country with the largest amount of consumers, and we can slowly see that India is a country where there are like high amount of startups are being grown. If we look into the ease of doing business, the ease of being doing business index, India has significantly climbed up higher in that index, where startups, India is making it more and more easier for startups to register themselves, or to like to facilitate themselves in the like in India. And we need to build a society where trust flows across boundaries, public institutions are strong, people feel responsible for one another. This is one of sorry, this is one of the major criterias where public institutions need to be strong more than the government institutions. So if we as people have like that strength to come together for an initiative, or we as people feel that these are the certain values that we should live up to, we really don't need government intervening like in areas such as Swachh Bharat. If that those are the values as a community we foster on our own. And like as we all know, India's greatest asset is its youth. So for India to grow, India really needs to invest in its youth, and especially in building a connected youth, and a youth that is not, you know, scattered. It needs to be connected, and it needs to have a strong sense of belonging. That is what I had to say for all today. Thank you, sir.
Well, can you get out of the screen? Go back to normal.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Well, I must say I am super impressed. That is something. Okay. It's very well done. A lot of thinking. I may or may not agree with all of it, but you have certainly put your heart and mind and everything into it. And congratulations. It's very well done. You're a good speaker.
Thank you,
You,
sir.
you know what you're saying. It's very impressive. Very, very impressive. So,
Thank you, sir.
you know, you have validated my rationale for this channel, because
Yes, sir. That
my idea was that people in India, young people in India, are very good. But Indian society, the older people, don't recognize it. And they don't give the young people the due voice and due empowerment. And I said to myself that instead of preaching, why don't I just start a channel? And the pandemic had made all of us video comfortable, video savvy. Why don't I just have a YouTube channel where young people can come and speak what's on their mind, and everybody comes and says something different? Because most people talk about their journey or this or that. Somebody talks about what you've really talked about is very academically clear and powerful. So I'm glad you took your chance and you were prepared very well.
yes, sir.
It's good. So,
Sir, anything you would like to add, or anything like your views,
well, okay.
or
I mean, this is not the place for me to get into much, but I do want you to think about the, what should I say, the divides also. Okay, the schools are able to reduce the divides and increase social capital, right? But that's sometimes a hope and not a reality. Okay. You don't see that. In fact, long, long ago when I used to teach in Jaipur in the university there, Rajasthan University, people just didn't want to be in the melting pot, the college students. They would have instead of a single hostel where everybody would stay, and there wasn't enough room also. So you would have a private hostel of one caste, a private hostel of another caste, because you say, no, our food is different, our habits are different. So there's a resistance to that intermingling. There is a resistance. And there's certainly the religious divide is still present. And in fact, I would say increasingly in public. So one has to recognize that the schools are a channel. And if you go to a fancy modern type school or college like you are in, you do get that melting pot. But if you are not lucky or skilled enough, and you are in some small town in some state, you won't get that melting pot. You just won't get it. In fact, you will get, I think, some of the local prejudices are actually strengthened. So that is there. I think that the social capital across, let us call it traditional identities, instead of using words like caste, religion. Let's just call it traditional identity. I mean, you are in Bangalore, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now in Bangalore, there's this huge fight between, people are saying you have to speak in Kannada. If you are trying to take an auto, or even the shop signs must be 70% in Kannada. So where is the melting pot? I mean, Bangalore is a world-class city with people from all over. But the traditional identity is sought to be preserved. And every day you read that there's some, no, I mean, there are thousands of people who take that public transport and don't feel anything. But then you do get that 1 in 1,000,000 or 1 in 1,000 where in the bank there is a dispute, in the shop there is a dispute. So that is not yet resolved, as far as I can tell. Even in Bengaluru, it's not resolved. And I think there's a fundamental problem, social problem, in a city like Bengaluru where the wealth is with outsiders because they have the skills. And a lot of the wealth is with outsiders who have come there, not because they love the city, but because it's a place where their skills are in big demand, and they've got together by increasing their social capital. But that social capital doesn't include the low education locals. So you leave out the low education locals, and then they feel marginalized. I think that's something you should think about, that they are marginalized. Even in Bangalore, they're marginalized, or they feel marginalized, and they don't feel part of the world-class city. And they're saying, oh, forget world-class, I just want you to respect my culture. Okay, so there's a divide that remains. I don't think schooling, I mean, those people are educated, so I don't think that schooling, the children you went to see, and you've rightly quoted Acer, which I also quote, same finding. And you've seen it yourself, that look, the schools do very little for them. Even in terms of the education, and certainly in terms of the social effect. But there's just some points to think about in the future, that look, where are, education by itself, just to tell you, I don't know where I read it, but when the British introduced the railways in India, and they said, look, everybody will have to travel in the same compartments, okay? And we will not have separate compartments by caste and religion, okay? And it was a thought, and they said, wow, they will all travel in the same compartment, and they will have to sit with each other. And so the caste and religious barriers will diminish. But actually, they didn't. They were just suspended for the time that you are in the train. The moment you got off the train, it was there, right? So this is vain hope from 1880s of the British, liberal British. Wow, this is common experience, shared experience, and we will not have caste-oriented compartments or religion-oriented. So it is tough because What you are saying is that social capital overcomes traditional loyalties, or at least adds something beyond the traditional loyalties. So think about it this way. I don't want to talk more about this topic because it's your turn to speak here, not mine. So let's hear more from you. Why did you choose economics? How did you happen to choose it? What are your
I
plans?
was so it is like a really interesting story. So I did my 10th, and then I was initially like I had interest in mathematics especially. So I took PCM, and then I was preparing for entrance examinations like joint engineering entrance JEE, and then MHCT. And then I was preparing, my preparation was going quite well. But then somewhat I found that engineering or physics, for the matter of fact, are very rigid subjects. And like I used to think I did an online education, like I was enrolled in a school which had no strict attendance measures. So I used to be at my home. I took up an online coaching. I used to sit in my home, and then I used to do attend online lectures from home and then study from home. But then in my free time, I used to think like, why am I doing this? So from being a child, I was conditioned in such a way that I used to think that I really need to bring some social change into the society. I need to uplift. I need to do something for the society. I really need to do so. Having nationalistic, patriotic values. Then I thought that okay, I might become an engineer. I might do some innovation, and that would create that would do better for humanity. Like humanity will grow. But then, while I was studying these subjects, I found that these are very rigid. They do not deal with human emotions or human problems that we face on ground. So that is where I got really into economics. So because economics is something which is, which blended my interest in mathematics, as well as it also blended my interest in social sciences. So I used to read a lot about economics, and then I was like, this is the subject which could expose me to ground social like challenges, social realities, as well as social problems. At the same time, I would have this mathematical exposure, and I could learn something that would really help me to do to solve actual problems where I can use like actual calculations. I can use the algebra. I can use the calculus to understand this how this world works or how this function like world functions. But as I delve more and more deeper into it, it is becoming more and more ambiguous for me. So it is like I need to read this, I need to read that, and then I often find myself like so there's this subject that I'm learning, political economy. We are following a textbook by Hennel, ABCs of political economy, and then as I'm reading quite into that, I'm diving deeper into how actually institutions work and how everything is like predetermined by the social conditioning of the people. It is getting more and more interesting. So for ahead, I am very, as of now, I know that I really love this subject and I would do something in academia or into like
Hmm,
something into the subject.
hmm.
But then I am not quite sure like what field. So I was in my first year, I did this project as I mentioned on like I went to schools and all. So I talked with one of my faculties in college, like this is the problem I really like want to know more about, and I want to research about this topic. So in my first year undergrads mostly do not have access to that much of research, right? But then I talked to like one of my faculties, and they were like they were also interested in the same topic. So I'm trying to currently write a paper on this topic, like whole social capital in education. So I'm trying to learn more about it, and I'm trying to engage and dive deeper into this topic. So that things that you said, I would I would reflect upon it, and I would read more onto it, and maybe that would be helpful for me. Thank you, sir, for
Okay.
adding that
All
perspective to
right.
my.
Let's talk about what kind of hints you would have for students who have just finished class 10 and are going into 11th and 12th and maybe beginning to think what's the future. So what kind of tips would you have?
So something personally, what I felt is like these days everyone is like AI is the future. Here, there is the scope lies. Engineering is where the scope lies. Like maybe medicine is the field where the scope lies. But what I understood over my 2 years was there's no use of scope if you're not good at it. There's no use of scope if you're genuinely not interested in it. There's there may be n number of jobs in engineering. There may be n number of jobs in artificial intelligence. I don't disagree with that fact. But if you genuinely are not interested in it, or that problem, like the problem which persists in that industry, does not motivate you to, you know, go there and solve it or to know more about it,
Mm,
then I don't think that any n number of jobs also you won't reach your maximum potential. Whereas a field such as narrow as like any field, maybe it narrow as it seems, but if you are genuinely interested and passionate about it, I think students will find a way. So what I will tell students is that in 10th, 11th, 12th, that keep your perspectives open. Don't close them. Don't close them because like only AI has jobs, only medicine has jobs, only engineering has jobs. For that matter, anything. I don't say don't do these fields, don't go for these fields, go for these fields, but also keep your perspectives open and try to understand what you really like, what really motivates you, what are your intrinsic values which will keep you motivated ahead, is what I would like to tell them.
okay. You want to share? So far, we haven't heard from you, your personal side at all. You want to share something about your personal side?
Okay, so I am from Kolhapur, Maharashtra. So I was born in a very patriotic family. I was like from an early age, I was exposed to a lot of history. My mother used to read me history books daily while I used to sleep. Even at the age when could not read, so she used to read them for me, and I used to fall asleep to them.
In
So
English
growing
or
up,
Marathi? She used to read
in Marathi.
in Marathi.
She used to read stories about Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj,
Uh,
and then after that, she read about Bhagat Singh. She read about Savarkar, and then slowly like Sane Guruji, and then growing up to all of these stories, then that kind of developed my curiosity and my habit of reading. So I started reading more, so I got interested in history, as well as I like speaking personally about me. My hobbies include like acting. I have worked in several professional Marathi plays, as well as I have done classical singing certifications,
wow.
and then tabla. I have done tabla certifications. I also play guitar,
Uh,
and I like music in general. I like acting. I'm a very extroverted person, so so like I like to talk to new people. Like I like to get their perspectives on thinking. Like in Bangalore, especially, I found that just by having a conversation. The other day, I was on a tea stall, and then I was hearing two people talking about stock markets, and then I just stopped there shamelessly listening to them. And then that man called me like, oh, "Are you interested into it?" So I was like, "Yes, I also like to know about. I'm an economic student and I also invest and like to know about markets." Then later in that conversation, I found that he is uh, a mutual fund manager, and then like I really built a strong connection. So I like to talk to people in general. I like to get their perspectives on things.
okay. And what do you think of your future?
My future, uh, I really think okay. So I would talk really that has been like going on to my mind for since I have joined this economics program. So I am a person who is deeply nationalistic and who is very strongly motivated towards doing something for this country and upliftment of the society. And then when I look into academia, and then when I look into the people, I can see all of the people who wanted research or who did like, wanted to pursue research. Majority of them, I would not say all, of course, majority of them have left the country and as I read more and more about economics, I can see that India is performing significantly low on all the social indicators, such as happiness index or well-being index. And then, so I really don't understand this, like, this dilemma, that there's this one side of me who is all, motivated towards something, towards for this country, and then there's other side of me which sees all these opportunities, the research academy opportunities that are going outside of India. So I'm currently torn between all of those. But then I surely know that anything I would do, I would want to, or I would at least try to generate at least something out of my life which would uplift at least, like, I would say 10 people. Not having a huge goal, but at least if I could impact positively even like 10 lives, that would be very, very good. Like, that would be like one of my dreams got completed.
Okay, all right, wonderful. And food? What's the food
Food,
you like?
I like non-veg. I like mutton, from, like, especially hailing from Kolhapur. I like mutton, the tamda rasa, panda rasa, like
Is your
that.
mutton very spicy? Is that part of the culture?
Yes, yes, the mutton is quite spicy.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Anything else you want to add here?
Uh, like, in which aspect are you asking?
Any aspect. What's on your mind? Tell us what you want to talk about.
Mm, there's nothing in particular that is right now going in my mind. Like, whatever it was, I talked it out.
Okay, good. So good. Then let's end it here today. And I'll be back
Okay.
with another young person. And I'm very happy to have had Shambhuraje here with us. I hope to have similar young persons with me in the future. Let's end it here. I'll be back soon. Bye, everybody. Stay on. Okay, I want to talk to you.